Yeah, the people, again, who are being called out by myself and others, and eventually the White House, also include people who, in all respects, did not have a change in business because of COVID. Podcasters, YouTubers, all of them. Their lives were not dramatically affected by lockdowns. People who took out PPP loans because all of a sudden their grocer had to shut down or something else that's to that effect, that's very, very different than Steven Crowder taking out like $70,000. It's the idea, Ben, of people forgiving loans, of governments forgiving loans, and people who are indentured with debt suddenly having the opportunity to do something else, or people taking advantage of those systems when they honestly don't need it. The quartering didn't need it. Destiny did not need it, okay? Steven Crowder did not need it. None of them needed a PPP loan.
They hate you.
Wait, why did you do... Sorry, Alfred Hitchcock.
They hate you. If you own a business, they hate you. If you paid your student loans, they hate you. If you're a responsible member of the free market economy, they hate you. That's the only conceivable reason why Joe Biden's White House is spending this week attacking business owners who oppose their politically driven bailout of predatory college lenders and deadbeat borrowers. You see, this week, Joe Biden announced without any constitutional authority whatsoever.
By the way, that one's for all the cinephiles out there. I think a handful of the Zoomers are probably like, the fuck is this bit? Goddamn Boomerlands. Yeah, no, I know who Alfred Hitchcock is, famous director. I'm not aware of what the theme music for Alfred Hitchcock Presents sounds like. I don't get this reference. This is Boomer as all hell. It's not a funny bit. Well, then, could you appreciate the drunkenness of Ben Shapiro's voice and how that juxtaposed nicely with the music? Because it sounded kind of cartoonish. It's kind of a cartoonish opening. So there's that, right? So you got that one. Anyways, this is ridiculous. I'm going to continue to rip into this idea coming from the right. So the right and the far right, effectively, they are millionaires paid for by billionaires to say these things to keep you distracted. They want to not have you actually go after the levers of power, not actually challenge people who may be your bosses. They don't want to tell you, hey, you should go unionize if you really want to stick it to those elites. We're going to tell you about those elites and how much they hate you because we know what populism is and how it works, but we're not actually going to do anything or teach you anything that's going to get you results in the tangible real world. And we're going to continue to vilify the people we know you hate because it's completely acceptable to hate Joe Biden and to hate the Democrats. I am amongst you. I too do not enjoy Joe Biden or the Democrats. Not a big fan of them. But to point this out and to be like, hey, the White House is effectively doing a Dark Brandon thing, and it was an awesome Dark Brandon thing, and I gotta celebrate it because Dark Brandon to me is just funny if it turns out that it's actually going to effectively piss off the right to the far right. That's when the Dark Brandon shit actually becomes kind of hilarious, and Joe Biden calling the GOP fascist kind of important because there are elements of the GOP, not broadly speaking all of the GOP, but there are elements of the GOP that are completely fine with embracing fascism, and they're trying to label it as Christian nationalism right now, but they are open and proud about their love of Christian nationalism. All that notwithstanding, if you're a podcaster, if you have the Daily Wire, okay, Tucker Carlson's outfit, if you have Steven Crowder's show, the Steven Crowder podcast YouTube channel, Louder with Crowder, whatever you want to call it, if you were the quartering, another great example, YouTuber, big old fucking transphobe racist. If that was your job under COVID, your job did not stop. I say this because I have the same job, so I know. Like, if I had taken out a massive government loan from the government of Canada for Serfs Inc. or, whatever, because I needed a lot of help to get through the pandemic, that would have been money that was taken in vain because ultimately my job was not affected by lockdowns. If anything, my job, and by virtue your job, became more lucrative because more people were stuck at home watching us than ever before. So the idea that all of these assholes who complain about government handouts all the time, whether it be Steven Crowder, whether it would be Tucker Carlson, whether it would be the Quartering, all of them who are always like, this is socialism, postmodern neo-Marxism, the fact that they would simultaneously be like, give me money, please, and forgive my loans. My government loans, forgive it. I don't want to pay it back. Even though you're probably printing cash. Like, if you could demonstrate Steven Crowder or Tucker Carlson or the Quartering suffered a loss that year, and that loss was significant to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars. Because of that loss of the tens of thousands of dollars, it affected their employment and they couldn't pay their employees, and so they had to justify taking a government loan out. And then they should also be thankful that the government forgave that loan, that they never had to pay it back, and that helped them. That would be very different than just taking the monies, because it's there. The Quartering said that out loud. Like, he was just straight up, he's like, yeah, I don't agree with the idea of these programs, but it would be insane for me not to take the money because it's right there. So you understand then, Ben. That's the issue going down. That's why this is being mocked. Because student loans and student debt forgiveness, the reason Biden didn't go after, say, medical debt forgiveness is he doesn't have the ability to suddenly just forgive medical debt forgiveness at the stroke of a pen. He does have the power, as he has demonstrated, to do it for student loans. That is under his purview. He has the ability. He doesn't have to worry about going through the House, going through any kind of system of worrying about the votes in the Senate, anything like that. He can just cancel student debt whenever he wants. Now, if you want to make the argument, well, the rest of us are going to be saddled with that debt, fine. But if you actually look at the numbers on this issue, it disproportionately affects people of color in the United States, people who are Black, Indigenous, Latin, you name it. They have to take out more student loans. They have to take out student loans in which they will most likely not have parents who can help them and you know, be co-signers on these loans with the properties that they have or stuff like that. They have more difficulty paying back these student loans. And there's a lot of people, especially Black Americans, who don't even finish their degrees for one reason or another. It's not because they're lazy. It's not because they don't pick themselves up from their bootstraps. It's most likely because life gets in the way. It's difficult. Going to college is very hard, to stay in school and to study and to do exams and to do that in addition to having to have a job or work or even trying to help and support your family. That's a very difficult task. So people drop out, but their student loans don't disappear if they don't get their degrees. So if they're in a situation where they don't have degrees and all of a sudden they can't get those nice jobbies to be able to pay the student loan off, they're pretty fucked. So yes, student debt forgiveness is a good thing. It is ultimately a good thing, and you can see because it is resoundingly popular. But every one of these creeps has to come out and suddenly do this whole thing where it's like, this is, the government hates you. This is a bad thing. I'm going to explain to you why this is a bad thing.
That he was going to simply relieve up to $20,000 in student loan debt. Joe Biden knows he doesn't have that authority. Everybody knows he doesn't have that authority. Here was Nancy Pelosi just last year saying Joe Biden does not have that authority.
Yeah, she did, because she was lying, because she's a corporate Democrat who didn't want student loan forgiveness. That's why she was doing that. We got a lot of that, actually. There's a lot of corporate Democrats who were just dancing with that idea. Like, we don't know if the president actually has the authority to do that. We don't know if we have that power. You know, tee-hee. Well, it turns out that they were lying, that the president does.
Watch.
People think that the president of the United States has the power for debt forgiveness.
God,
he does not. He can postpone, he can delay, but he does not have that power. That has to be an act of Congress.
Now, Joe Biden says he has that authority thanks to a COVID emergency. That's literally what this administration claims. 2 years after COVID, after opening the border, more than a year and a half after the widespread application of the supposed pandemic-ending vaccines, there's still enough of a COVID emergency.
Wait, is this a new thing? Is Ben trying to do like a Daily Show style show? I mean, without the jokes or humor or entertainment or something pleasant to watch or just enjoyment or pleasure or any of that. But like, is that what he's going for here? Because normally he's got his desk and he's sitting there and he looks at his links and then he starts getting really mad. And, yeah, actually. But like, this seems more like he's like, I want to do a presentation. I want to come forward and I'm going to talk to you. And then we're going to cut to the pictures and the shiny thing. And then you're going to see this and keep you mad, though.
To justify spending
By the way, I missed that part. When did Biden open the borders? Is that a thing? Is anyone watching me from Mexico? Can you confirm? Are you able to just like run into the United States, do whatever you want, and then run right back home? Because it's not working on this side. I crossed the border recently. I went to Point Roberts, which is a really silly little thing. I'm going to show you what Point Roberts is. It's just the quaintest little like happenstance. So here's how this works. This is the good old US of A, USA number 1. This is where you would go to get down to Seattle and Bellingham. This is up here where you get to North Vancouver and all this kind of stuff. And this is the 49th parallel. This is the imaginary line where Canada and the United States become different places. That magical line. This is a very unique thing, though. Look at this peninsula. This one cuts off at a place called Tsawwassen and leaves you with a little mini America that is so teeny. It is the smallest little place. Point Roberts is considered part of the United States because, again, the invisible 49th parallel that is drawn across this line. So when you enter and leave this area, you have to go through the border. And it's the weirdest thing. There's an actual US border guard who treats you just like every US border guard. When you get in there, there's like literally 3 stores. There's only like 3 stores in the whole place, but they all are stocked with American products. Like American booze, which is so much cheaper than Canadian booze. American gas, which I filled up, obviously, because it's so much cheaper than Canadian gas. And if they need supplies, it has to come in by transport through Canada. So everything that is in here is American, and it's transported through America, driving all the way over here, all the way back down, supplies dropped off, then drive all the way back down, all the way here, because they don't have like a boat docking station for people to send stuff from Seattle or whatever it is. But it's such a weird oddity. And people are American. You have to be an American citizen. I mean, there are Canadians who live there. It's got a whole bunch of people who are in like, what is it? When you snitch, or when you're like being protected. God, I can't even remember the name of it. It's like a video game glitch. It's so bizarre. It is utterly strange to drive into Point Roberts and then have to drive out. They got completely fucked. Oh, witness protection. Thank you. It's got the highest per capita amount of people in witness protection living there of, I think, anywhere in North America because of just the uniqueness of the whole thing, that you would have to cross a border to get through it. And then when you leave, you have to cross the Canadian border, and it's that same process. But it's so bizarre. But during COVID, they were so fucked because obviously the borders all closed. Canada was like, we can't help you because we've got to deal with our own things. America's like, we can't reach you. You're just completely cut off from the rest of the United States. So they were apparently in a really bad way for a long time. It's so strange, but it's neat. I mean, it really shows you how these imaginary lines, like everything about it is identical to Tsawwassen, this part of Canada right here. It looks and everything. If you walked around outside of the street signs, you'd be like, yeah, this is just Tsawwassen. It's just America Tsawwassen. But yeah, it's thanks to these invisible little lines that we draw.
$100 billion on student loan bailouts. Now, Joe Biden is lying, of course. Joe Biden doesn't think there's a COVID emergency. There he was just this week, hobnobbing with the hoi polloi, footloose and fancy-free, Jack.
Wait, what did he say? I didn't even pick up what he said there. Hobnobbing with the white boy?
There he was. Now, Joe Biden is lying, of course. Joe Biden doesn't think there's a COVID emergency. There he was just this week, hobnobbing with the hoi polloi, footloose and fancy-free, Jack. But here's the thing. Joe Biden doesn't need an actual legal excuse to do stuff, just like he didn't need an actual legal excuse to use the Occupational Safety and Health Administration to cram down vax mandates on 80 million Americans before he was stopped by the Supreme Court. Just like he didn't need an actual legal excuse to use the CDC to cram down eviction moratoria before he was stopped by the Supreme Court. This week, Joe Biden called his political opponents semi-fascist. But fascism typically starts with the centralization of power in the executive branch, without reference to the law. Joe might take a look in the
Not exactly. But he didn't call his political opponents, broadly speaking, all fascists. He called several of them who self-identify as Christian nationalists. So, I mean, that's not really a far reach, right? If you have people like Marjorie Taylor Greene is straight up advocating for the United States to return to a straight up like religious theocracy. So, yeah, I think she's something to worry about.
Mirror sometime, scary as it may be. But what makes Joe Biden's student loan bailout most egregious isn't the fact that it's being done illegally or that it's bad policy. It will certainly increase both inflation and educational cost, as well as reinforcing a corrupt higher education system that damages those who don't go to college. The most damaging thing about the student loan bailout is that Joe Biden is now attacking everyone who pays their bills on behalf of people who don't.
No, that's the most base thing about it. I never thought I'd see the day. I never thought I'd see the White House tweeting out the hypocrisy of other people. I know he's going to get to it and be like, well, this is just businesses getting student loan forgiveness for operating their businesses. I don't see the problem.
The student loan bailout does that automatically, of course. It subsidizes predatory college lenders, hairdressing and cosmetology schools in inner cities that charge students exorbitant fees, major colleges and universities that charge hundreds of thousands of dollars for meaningless, stupid degrees in lesbian dance theory, as well as borrowers who took out loans to...
First off, lesbian dance is amazing, okay? And if we need to theorize about why those lesbians are gyrating in the way they are, well, then we will do so. There's nothing wrong with that. We can learn. We can learn why they dance in such a way, okay? And I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to put in the hours to understand this lesbian dancing. But Yeah, there's certainly something to be said about the idea that college indentures people, and sometimes for degrees that may not be able to even get them really good jobs. Wouldn't it be a better idea if we just made college free for everyone? So that wouldn't be a problem. So they wouldn't be indentured with debt if they did get a, quote, useless degree. Because I think people should be allowed to learn on topics that may not be very profitable to them. I think if you want to get a philosophy degree, you should be allowed to do that. You should be allowed to go get a philosophy degree if you have the time and that's of interest to you. I just don't think you should go bankrupt in that process. And then when you leave school, be like, okay, well, what are my job prospects? And it's like, barista at Chapters maybe is probably the only thing I can recommend for a Bachelor of Arts in philosophy. It's just not really like, it's not really something required by a lot of jobs. You can't be a professor. You could go become a teacher if you wanted, but you'd have to go do more school to do that, which will be very expensive, by the way. That's going to be a part of the whole thing.
Pay for their dreams of majoring in theater at the local JUCO. And it does so at the expense of those who actually paid off their student loans. Elizabeth Warren has admitted as much.
My daughter's getting out of school. I've saved all my money. She doesn't have any student loans. Am I going to get my money back? Of course not.
Of course, Elizabeth Warren doesn't care about those who paid off.
Am I going to get my money back? What is this logic? I don't get it. Like, hey, I lived in a time before the internet existed. Now the internet exists. Because I lived in that time before it existed, does everyone else get to use the internet? Why did they get, because I never got to at one point in my life, so why do they get to use it? I lived in a time before the PS5 existed. Why do people get to play PS5s when I don't? I actually don't even have a PS5 because you can't buy them anywhere. That's not fair. I want mine. I want one of those too. If you want to relate it to fucking cures, like, hey, people exist, like, there was a time before penicillin, but now penicillin exists. So should we stop using it because people died prior to its use? Is that the way it's going to be? I don't understand that idea where it's like, if a good thing happens to someone else, but that good thing never happened to me, it's not fair. I want my cookie too. Why did they get cookies? Yeah, I don't understand that logic. And like, society, broadly speaking, would operate better if people aren't indentured by debt, saddled with debt, and also are having a really hard time finding jobs. It would be better for society, collectively speaking. Like the same people who will shit all over the homeless and be like, oh, look at those fucking disgusting deplorables. Oh, they smell like piss. Oh, they're ruining society. It's like, okay, well, why don't we have systems in place that's going to allow people to have the best possible opportunities, outcomes, if you will. You're never going to have any system. Doesn't matter if it's even communism or socialism. I'm just going to be upfront and honest with you. You're not going to have any system that will produce identical outcomes and identical ideal outcomes, because that's not what human beings are. We're not NPCs. We're not robots. We're all different. And I've said this before. I think you should be striving for, both in your economic system and in your politics and in your life, is maximizing the best version of yourself. Be the best version of yourself that you can be, all right? If that involves cleaning up your room, that involves whatever, just maximize yourself. Be the best version of yourself. But understand, too, that failure and failing is not inherently the worst thing in the world. And this is honestly something guys are taught. Unless you win, you lose. If you don't win at everything, you lose. Well, I'm sorry, fellas. Not every single one of you is going to be a fucking NFL superstar. Not every single one of you is going to be the next, Jamie Foxx. Not every single one of you is going to have the most incredible life that is possible. But there is a version of your life that is the best possible outcome, and there's a version of your life that is honestly incredibly shitty. So why not try to maximize your life and understand that other people will do other things and be better at other things, and you will be better at other things than other people. That's life. Just the individualism and the male set mentality that I must be the conqueror and the destroyer. I must have the best job. I must get the hottest wife with the biggest titties. I must live in the biggest house. I must have my 2.5 kids. I must do everything. All of this kind of shit. It's genuinely destructive. And if there's people helping each other out, if there's people forgiving student loan debt so other people have a little bit more relief, doesn't go far enough, but they should. Awesome. Great. I'm not even an American. Okay, I know Matt Walsh is like, every single person virtue signaling about student debt forgiveness is doing it because at the end of the day, they stand to benefit or their friends stand to benefit. I was like, I don't, in the sense that I'm literally not an American, and I have American friends. I'm sure it'll help them. So maybe that part is true. But I think broadly speaking, society is better and it just operates better when people aren't having as shitty a time. There's your science, you know?
She doesn't care about the rising price of education either. She loves the rising cost of education. After all, she was a direct beneficiary of the rising cost of education. During the 2010-2011 school year, for example, she was paid $400,000 by Harvard Law School to teach 2 classes.
I wonder if this is a dog whistle because of the fact that like she was claiming to be indigenous, but she was only like 1/1000th. That's definitely me reading into it. There's no evidence there of that.
But the Democrats' scorn for those who pay their bills,
Grifter,
it's even worse than this. Now they're attacking anyone who opposes them for taking Paycheck Protection Program money. The Paycheck Protection Program was put in place as part of the...
Catboy says, Lance, you'd get more subs and donuts and more student debt forgiveness because most of that is your base I'm onto. Oh, shit. Is that true? Am I 18 to 35, college educated? Is that the people who are watching me, and all of a sudden it's like, we have a little extra spending money. We have a little spending money. We can give it to you, our leader. We can translate that directly into you and your project, right? And then we unlock communism if we do that? Ooh, interesting.
So-called CARES Act, passed in March 2020, signed into law by President Trump. It passed unanimously in the Senate 96-0 by near unanimous voice vote in the House. It spent approximately $1 trillion to help prevent the complete collapse of the United States' unemployment system during the COVID crisis.
Yeah, the people, again, who are being called out by myself and others, and eventually the White House, also include people who, in all respects, did not have a change in business because of COVID. Podcasters, YouTubers, all of them. Their lives were not dramatically affected by lockdowns. People who took out PPP loans because all of a sudden their grocer had to shut down or something else that's to that effect, that's very, very different than Steven Crowder taking out fucking like $70,000. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, by the way, who's one of the people the White House calls out, was she directly impacted in such a way by COVID lockdowns? Did she stop being a politician during that time? Was it all of a sudden it's like, oh, you really need this money to be able to help and operate your business, which is directly funded, again, in large part by the US government. But either way, this is something that needed to happen. It's the idea, Ben, of people forgiving loans, of governments forgiving loans, and people who are indentured with debt suddenly having the opportunity to do something else, or people taking advantage of those systems when they honestly don't need it. The quartering didn't need it. Destiny did not need it, okay? Steven Crowder did not need it. None of them needed a PPP loan.
The basic idea was simple. The government had forced hundreds of thousands of small businesses to close thanks to COVID. The government promised businesses grants if they spent that money on paying their employees to keep the employees afloat while the entire economy was forcibly shut down. A lot of businesses took that money, and there was nothing wrong with that. They took that money not because they were greedy, not because they were deadbeats, but because the government shut down their businesses. They took that money because the government was begging the businesses to keep their employees afloat.
Destiny got one? Seriously? Well, I got to be careful because can't play footage of him, but the quartering went after him for that, which is amazing because the quartering did the exact same thing.
Here's what he had to say about receiving $20,000.
Fucking relief program, that PPP.
I love Stop!
it.
Don't fuck it up for.
I won't. No, you know what I love so much about it? Because when people are like, "Oh, you really taking advantage of that? You don't need it." Sounds to me like you should have means tested it then.
His job was unaffected, and he still felt entitled to take $20K from the government because he could. I'm saying it's a scumbag thing to do, in my opinion, to take money from the government. Firstly, when others need it, and you didn't.
This was, as I expressed at the time, a pretty solid case of a Fifth Amendment taking. The Fifth Amendment says private property can't be taken for public use without just compensation. And shutting down your business and throwing your employees out of a job without compensation is a taking, no question. But according to Joe Biden, you're not allowed to object to bailing out people with a college degree who haven't paid their debt if you took PPP money. And so the White House is now tweeting out the names of political opponents who took PPP money to keep their employees from having to go to the food bank while the government threw them out of work.
You gotta love the dark branded energy of this one.
This is morally reprehensible. It's disgusting. If you're a business owner who just wants to operate and keep your employees employed, the government will shut you down, they'll destroy you financially, they'll promise you help, and then 2 years later, they'll destroy you reputationally. They'll tell you you're a good person for ensuring your employees can support their families. And then 2 years later, they'll use that as leverage to force you to support their politically driven plan to bail out their favored political constituencies.
But the wild thing about that is the quartering calling Destiny out for that when the quartering was taking out PPP loans.
They hate you. They hate you for operating a business. If you operate a business, you see, you probably believe in things like paying off your debts, things like operating within a budget, things like ensuring your employees are productive.
See, but here's the difference. So the idea being that a business loan, specifically a business loan, is worthy of being paid out by the government and then forgiven by the government, because this is something that is going to benefit society, broadly speaking. Whereas people need to have the ability to struggle in order to get their education. They have to do that. If they don't struggle and they don't have to basically have a very hard time affording college and university, well, then they won't achieve as good as results, I think. This is my logic. So one of these good thing, one of these bad thing. You understand that, like, if you feel the government should step in and help out struggling businesses, but you don't feel the government should step in and help struggling students who will eventually ideally work for those businesses and or start their own businesses, well then, yeah, there's a difference between what you feel is good and not. And the hypocrisy of every person getting mad about this, these same motherfuckers are the assholes who, again, were podcasters and YouTubers. Their jobs were not affected. They didn't, like, can you show me the raw data on Steven Crowder, the Quartering, all of them, how they needed to have that money to get by? Because I can show you the tweet that the Quartering made where he just straight up said, he's like, I disagree with the system, but it would be insane for me not to take it. It's free money. Wouldn't I turn that down?
Those are the opposite of the things the Democrats believe. That good people renege on their debts and get their neighbors to pay them off. That operating within a budget is a sign of stinginess. And that the most generous people are those with their hands in their neighbors' pockets. That requiring employees to be productive is tyrannical, profit-mongering alienation of labor. Democrats think that work.
You still don't understand this? You've been like fucking raging about this for so long. No, if people are productive, they're good at their jobs, or they work hard, or whatever it is, that's not the problem. The problem is the boss taking the amount that they pay to them less than the value of the things those people that they're working for are producing. So they are taking advantage of those people in that situation. That's the problem.
Is bad, and that those who engage in it are suckers. Here's Nancy Pelosi back when Obamacare passed in 2014, saying just as much.
We want people to have the freedom to be a writer, to be a photographer, to make music, to paint, to start a business, to unleash the entrepreneurship of America, because people would no longer be job locked by their policy, but have the freedom to follow their passion.
Democrats believe that everyone should be able to follow their passion on your dime. And so they are happy to slander you as a deadbeat for being responsible.
By the way, on your dime, if that's your argument, like, how many things does the government do that you hate? And why don't you ever point that out? Like, do you love giant banks getting bailed out? Do you love that? Even if you weren't directly responsible for the 2008 financial crisis, but do you love that on your dime? By the way, did you like that? Do you like the U.S. military bombing people overseas, taking millions and millions and millions, billions of dollars to do that? Do you enjoy that? Do you enjoy the ambitions of the United States imperial military conquests in order to prop up, again, the resource extraction for wealthy corporations? Do you enjoy that? Because it's on your dime. Do you like your money being spent that way? There's a fuck ton of things I'm sure you would be like, no, actually, I'm not big on that. Corporate welfare, fucking awesome. Right-wingers love that shit. As you can see with things like PPP loans, just as a direct example of every single one of them being a hypocrite. But in general, corporate welfare, amazing. Oh yeah, what? Amazon factory moving into this area doesn't have to pay any taxes? Yes. Hell yeah. Oh yeah. You know what? How about you bid? How about you you cities, you bid for this Amazon warehouse. You get to bid and see how much money you're willing to spend to get us to do it there, because it's going to have so many jobs, so many juicy jobs. A lot of the high paying jobs are actually going to be done by people who are already pretty much fielded in those areas. But locally, there will be a lot of custodial jobs. There'll be a lot of so you need this, don't you? Like, this is juicy subsidies, baby.
While praising actual deadbeats for following their dream to become a professional finger painter. You're the bad guy. After all, you're the...
How many college students in the U.S. are trying to get their degrees in professional finger painting? I know he's being facetious. I know lesbian dancing, finger painting, all that. But genuinely, how can you be like a capitalist constantly talking about how we need to have more trained professionals? We need more engineers. We need more nurses. We need more doctors. We need more people building the building blocks of society. That is how we grow and prosper. And also, they should go bankrupt in their pursuit of that in the same breath.
The one who pays the bills. And only suckers pay their bills.
Only suckers pay their bills. Because that's what the left wants. The left just wants free shit, right? They just want all of you to give us free stuff. That's the left. I don't play Minecraft, so I have no idea if Ben Shapiro playing Minecraft would be good or bad.
So, meme lord Brian, the producer who tortures me with the woke TikToks, he's going to be helping to guide me through this. This video is sponsored by Ring. Here we go.
But you know what's really insidious about these? Don't worry, I'm not going to play this for more than a couple minutes. They make these videos to reach out to younger audiences. Like it's not like, hey, we need you to play Minecraft because it'll be funny. It's like, I don't really want to do that. My kids play it. I'm not really interested. It's like, no, if you play Minecraft, you might get a whole bunch of young Zoomers who are like, oh well, this guy plays Minecraft, or at least he wants
Between
to.
1996 and 2022. That's where we are. Okay, so I'm walking around. I'm seeing going down some steps, and okay, what do I see? I see steps. I see trees. I see flowers of some sort. I see more steps. It's a ziggurat. There'll be a human sacrifice up here later.
So your first objective is to get wood to make tools with. To get wood, you're gonna have to walk up to one of those trees and you're gonna hold down left click to start punching it.
I'm gonna punch a tree down. This game is not realistic. I cannot punch a tree. Wow, karate master.
You can hit the E key on your keyboard.
Okay.
It opens up your crafting menu.
Wow. I don't look so good here, guys. So I'm going to
That actually looks better than Ben Shapiro, I'm gonna be honest.
take my oak log. The last time that I held like a block of wood,
This is so boomer. I'm not gonna lie, first time I played Minecraft, which was a long time ago, I was definitely like, I don't understand what I do. Like, what is the point of this? I was just running in circles, and someone's like, oh, it's not like other video games, Lance. It's actually about crafting and building. So what you're gonna need to do is you're gonna need to run and probably smack some wood, and then once the wood comes down, you can start to build your first tools, and then once you do that, you can use those tools to start getting other minerals and ore and stuff like that. You can use that to forge, and that will allow you to build walls and a variety of different things. You can actually start expanding. I mean, you might need to get some very rare minerals too. You might need to dig down deep to get that diamonds, and then you're gonna meet these creatures who try to kill you. I was like, wait. There's creatures that try to kill you. Oh yeah, they're in there. But mainly it's about you just building things, and it's just like it's not really the games I play. I don't have the 200, 300 plus hours to build a Minecraft castle.
I was standing outside a Home Depot. That turned into a meme too, so I have a feeling that this will be a thing.
Click that.
Do you not know why that was a meme? That was a meme because it looked like you was like, just like you're doing now, you were pretending to do something you don't know how to do. That's why it was funny. It's like, we know you don't build anything, Ben. We know you've never shopped for wood before. We know you've never shopped at Home Depot before. Yes, 1 wood, please. Ah, yes, manly man, 1 wood.
And carry it over to those 4 squares up there. And click in. And then you're gonna wanna...
I'm actually just morbidly curious about how far did he go with this.
My best interest at heart.
I don't know what you're talking about. Back up.
Die. Oh. Well,
He got killed by a creeper.
that went badly.
That is okay, because nothing is permanent in Minecraft. We can walk back and find your stuff.
I can see the obsession. Well,
Oh god, creepy.
Holes in the ocean.
oh, is this asshole? Okay.
I think I could just watch creepers kill Ben Shapiro.
Whack them and back up. Okay, you lived. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, beats the alternative. Just gonna look at the moon. Has Minecraft man ever made it there? Was the Minecraft moon landing real?
Yeah, it's wild. This is pretty insidious. Trying to get this all up to be like, well, I'm just like you fellow kids. Yeah, Minecraft. Yeah, I love playing Minecraft.
No, I don't want to be here anymore. Goodbye, cruel world. Goodbye.
Just the most slow, painful death imaginable.
No, he Minecraft himself in Minecraft. Yeah, it makes sense. It was just a matter of time.
Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form. Available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Juste, we shall spend many a generations building mighty cathedrals in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your oafish jesters, here to offer you a laugh at any opportunity. To our brave knights of the Round Table, Rachel K., Izzy Solidarity, Victoria Bell, Sebastian Demmel, Mark Harmon, Benji Arney, Scary Earth Human, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood, Everything Important, Hegbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Doug Cady, Daniel Sutton, Jenna Tao, Dark Puppy, Quiet 185, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, Multimondi, Trevbot EXE, Brian Ephraim, Anthropophojack, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Incosin, Ralph Parler, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, La Media Panza, Todd Buckingham, and Todd La Jeunesse. We salute our valiant heroes off to fight injustice everywhere.